Tell us the truth. Tell us the truth.
We mandate that the truth be told. You're hearing it.
TNT.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to this live broadcast. I'm Patrick Henningsen, your host. We are live and direct. This is a new time slot. Welcome, everybody. Hopefully, we'll migrate some of our audience. And we see some of the familiar faces in the TNT chat room there. Thank you guys for coming back with us. It'll take a while to bring our audience over from the later time slot, but we really appreciate your patience on this, ladies and gentlemen. And we'll Monday to Friday at this very time. That is 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time in the United States, 6 p.m. UK time, and also Central European Standard Time for people like our next guest based in France right now, Freddie Ponton, independent journalist, researcher, joining us on the live link. Freddie, welcome to the program.
Hey, Patrick, great to be here with you. Thank you for having me.
It's great to be with you as well, Freddie, and a lot of people were shocked. It seemed like, anyway, all the hype going into the French elections based on the first and second round votes, and all of a sudden, everyone thought the National Rally was going to be running away with it with a massive majority. That didn't happen, and now we have the political left emerging in France now, looking in the command position. Explain to us what has just happened, Freddie. First of all, are you surprised, as so many other people were, to see this result? How did it happen? What does it mean? Your thoughts?
Well, I was surprised. Yes and no. In a way, we very quickly realized that the centrist and the left came together for the second round with a strategy known as the withdrawal instruction, which is basically removing candidates to offer only one prime candidate in major cities. And that is to basically directly block the National Rally, if you will, from performing well. So they've done extremely well in the first round. They confirmed, obviously, their popularity as per the European elections. So no mystery here. The mystery starts when obviously the political maneuvering is taking place, and we are basically ask the voters to reduce their choices by only offering one candidate in cities where they know they can beat Marine Le Pen and Jordan Bardella. So that's a maneuvering. It's not illegal. This is just a way to control the oppositions and making sure that the far right, so-called far right, will never access the important position, the executive position within the French government. So that's really what the result is really about. I think the way I say it is public, that there is two winners in this election. There is an electoral winner and there is a political winner. And as you just said, the Socialist Party is definitely the electoral winner under the new Popular Front coalitions. And then on the other side, you have Emmanuel Macron, which is the political winner of these legislative elections, keeping control the position close to him, having basically pro-EU, pro-NATO, pro-supranational, pro-globalist, neocon surrounding his deputies within the National Assembly. So I think his idea of calling for a snap election, dissolving the Assembly, has worked extremely well, although we know this was not his primary strategy.
So what does this mean in terms of potential policy? Some of the big issues, of course, that fueled the national rallies, great showing in the first two rounds of the election, of course, were this EU skepticism, Euro skepticism, little Euro aggression, to be more accurate, and also skepticism regarding NATO and dragging France into a war in Ukraine. These are things that Macron took a lot of heat for in the previous months. So that seemed to be a couple of big issues motivating voters there. With this result, Freddie, are people going to get any? Are they going to get anything productive on those two areas? With a potentially a left leading coalition here, Mélenchon's made some pretty powerful statements along this front with Ukraine. What do you think?
Well, the numbers speak for themselves. So you have to look within the group, who's leading the groups. If you look into the new Popular Front, you have basically the followers of Glucksmann, the party, the Socialist Party, basically leading the dynamic, if you will, within the new Popular Front on the left. Then on the second position, you have the Greens. And then you have LFI, the France Insoumise, with Jean-Luc Mélenchon. So Jean-Luc Mélenchon can say whatever he wants. Number one, he cannot and will not be the next prime minister because he's simply not in the front row. As far as influencing where this coalition is going, the coalition of the left and center left, it is quite clear that they're going to form a government. Let's see what they're going to call it, how it's going to look like. This is still in the shaping as we speak. But as I say, ensemble is, and with Renaissance, Macron, Gabriel Attal, nothing is going to change, Patrick, because when you have controlled positions with a program that just simply does not advocate for Brexit, that does not advocate for, anti-NATO, or at least some kind of a very concrete peace formula for the conflict in between Russia and Ukraine. So what we're going to have, and if you really look at the scores, you understand that this new National Assembly will pretty much look the same as what we had prior to the legislative elections. And that is why Macron has a political win in this instance, because Marine Le Pen made a big mistake, and she decided to stay within the EU, to stay with all the NATO, and has not really provided a real change. She addressed the right questions as far as security, perhaps looking to the immigration, but these are not the fundamental questions. The real fundamental question is that France is sinking, and it's sinking deeper and deeper. And we need to treat the problem at the root, and the root causes of the problem that France is facing is debt, huge debt, 3,000 billions in debt. Over 110% of the GDP, in debt. So it's really hard, to make any change unless you're going to make a drastic move towards entertaining the possibility of getting out of the European Union and sending NATO where it belongs, and then starting to, as I said, rebuild France, the economy, the banking system, having our own currency, taking care of our borders, and starting to recreate these bilateral agreements between nations. So if we cannot do that, we don't have a country. So unless we're going to have people that are strongly believing that the only way forward for France to regain some kind of a credibility on the international stage with controlling their foreign policies and being able to make some important decisions with regards to import and exports, protecting the agricultures, and making sure that we can provide security for the French citizens and going back to some form of discipline in the country, and nothing is going to change. And unfortunately, Marine Le Pen program is at least still pro-European. I don't hear anything really against NATO. They might have some kind of support for Russia, but that's Marine Le Pen. Jordan Bardella is more intense of kind of supporting Ukraine. So they're playing a little bit on both sides of the fence. And unfortunately, with the withdrawal instruction for the voters, it's quite clear that voters were left with no solution, no real sovereign solutions. And only the small sovereign party like Philippot and few others were able to provide that very clear-cut agenda and that clear-cut program as far as, Brexit being the first step to regain our sovereignty. They've not done great, they've not done bad, but it's still too small to influence a dynamic at the highest level within the government. So as I said, we're going back to the old game for the next few years until the presidential. Nothing is going to change. And I call it a disaster for France from a democratic process point of view. Many people have supported candidates that they actually do not support. They were just instructed to support this candidate to block the national rally. So that's the kind of political situation we find ourselves in. And it's a disaster for the country, there's no doubt.
It sounds like tactical voting methods deployed. It's almost like the ruling faction got together with the opposition and said anything but the far right, anything but Le Pen, anything but the National Rally. We need to come together to stop. So it's more like the effort is to stop something from happening rather than presenting an agenda that's about how to improve things and how to take the country forward. It's about stopping the far right. And we see the same coalition in America. You have the Rhino Republicans and the Democrats together to stop Trump, anything but Trump. And they'll go to any length to do it, even if it means breaking the rules of elections, politics, primaries, etc., destroying precedent. Doesn't matter. Everything, just make sure these people don't come to power. Is that a fair assessment, Freddie?
Absolutely. This is exactly what it is. And you can clearly see that there's a choice to push forward. And we saw that during the European election with Glucksmann and the Socialist Party doing pretty well in the European elections. And these guys literally were able to increase 100% the numbers of seats in the National Assembly, twice what they got during the previous election. So these are basically people that are picked up, as the controlled opposition from the left, which worked for Ensemble and for Macron. And that's really the idea, is to come in together. And if you really want to see really if this is genuine, then you just look at the numbers again. And we can clearly see when Ensemble, with Macron, Renaissance, and so on, joining forces with the new Popular France, when you put all the results together in terms of votes, you can clearly see that they still do not get the majority. So they are forced now to go on the right side of the political spectrum and approach basically the Republicans and ask them for few deputies within the National Assembly so they can actually have a majority. So you end up with literally a rainbow government, where you get people from the left, you get the communists, you get La France Insoumise, what they call the far left, and then you get the Greens, and then you get also people from the right. So it's a meltpot, and we all know that this kind of grand coalitions, I call it, is rather ineffective at governing or fulfilling the real need of the countries. It's the need of more of the politicians and their party rather than the need of the French people that has been expressed during these elections. And that's just not what I call a democratic process. That's just basically a ganging up on someone you don't want to see them because their agenda is just way too, on the other side of the spectrum, and you cannot manage this. You cannot manage them within, a strong presence within the National Assembly. So you rather get rid of him and gang up, even, allied yourself with people that normally are completely also on the other side of what you stand for. So as I say, if you get Glucksmann extremely strong within the NFP and you get Macron Ensemble, these people have complete different views. Glucksmann described himself as an expert in a revolution, and we're not talking about Che Guevara. We're talking about colored revolution. Guy spent a lot of time in Bulgaria, and we all know what happened there. So what we are saying here is it's just arrangements in between elites and political groups. But nothing is going to happen that's going to make a difference for the French bottom line. The food on the table, the security, everything that's going to improve our quality of life and reducing the debt. We're going to get more debt. We're going to get more insecurity, a kind of a organized, orchestrated chaos, if you will, but it's still smooth and operational. And then we're going to have more emergency power, more 49/7. We don't, everything's going to be ruled under emergency power. And that's the French we've known for the past 7 years.
Yeah, incredible. We'll bring this tweet up on screen here from Mélenchon, the opposition leader, Jean-Luc Mélenchon, basically talking about it's an interesting position. And I think we'll bring this tweet up on screen if we could. There it is. He's basically saying it is absurd to think that by scaring Putin, we will force him to retreat, says Mélenchon. We are not in a position to threaten Russia. No one can conquer a country with 7 time zones, which has already defeated both Napoleon and Hitler. and he's basically explaining the ridiculous situation of Ukraine getting NATO membership there, which means that there will be no peace with Russia. Peace will be impossible if we keep pushing for NATO membership. That sounds great, Freddie. From Mélenchon, how likely is this viewpoint going to, permeate into French foreign policy?
Zero, because he's not influential enough. His dynamic within the new popular front is very little. And it's a smoke screen, when he comes out on national television, the day after the election, saying that this is it, we're here, we're in place, we're going to install our program. He's not going to install anything. This is just talk. He doesn't simply have the representation enough in the National Assembly to make any differences. And for political survival, it will have to go along with the program. It's exactly what we saw prior to these legislative elections. It doesn't matter, when Ensemble proposed something, it seems that the right and the left, everybody go along with the plan because no one, and perhaps everyone knows that it really truly doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, the European parliaments and council decide on their foreign policies, and then the European Union decide of, the doctrines and what and how should things be done in our country. So it doesn't really matter what you believe in. You can even be of goodwill, good intention. If you don't have the lever of power in your hands, you're just another fool, trying to do politics. But you cannot support an idea which ideas in the first place, decisions about applying these ideas and changing them into law is impossible. It's not in your hands. We have a rainbow government, so we're not going to get any Mélenchons pushing his agenda. You can say all the beautiful things about, let's try to talk again. Let's keep the debate open with Putin, or simply, let's challenge the European Union and do an ultimatum, so otherwise we'll exit the European Union. All that is talk. It's political jargon. It's for, it's to please a certain electorate, but it's really not, going to see the die. So bottom line, Patrick, nothing is going to change. It's a mess, and we just got further down into this mess.
Yeah. Talk is cheap. Actions are what's needed. Viktor Orban, president of Hungary, with the rotating presidency of the European Union, he basically has taken action. He's got on a plane, gone to Moscow, doing direct talks with the Russians, talking to the Chinese. We don't see that from anybody else, and doing so with the intention of wanting a peaceful solution, wanting to avoid war. And that's real leadership. That's real political leadership coming from a second-tier European country. So what will it take for top-tier, so-called top-tier G7 European countries to do something like this, which is to basically stake some political capital on the table and take a risk to for everybody's benefit, obviously? I think the electorate in Europe and these various countries, they want that. They want to see that. But the political elite class, they don't seem very interested in that. We've got a couple of minutes left. Your final thoughts before we break. Go ahead, Freddie.
Well, I mean, it's not a secret. I'm a sovereignist, so anything that I see that does not present a Frexit and exit of NATO and, and tell the WHO to bugger off, it's nothing is making sense. Because, as I said, you cannot govern a country unless you're going to have this level of power. If you don't have a bank that can print money, and you cannot control your border, you don't have a full control of your foreign policies, and you got to go along with a program that is not yours. There's nothing you can do. You're losing credibility, and definitely your vision is going to be very narrow, because it has to fit a glove, the NATO glove or the EU glove. And I don't want to wear any glove. I want to be able to do whatever we want to do, what's worked for us, for the French people. The people of France need to be able to do what they feel is right for them. And until we can do that, then we'll slip further down. And that's the reality.
membership. Globalist institutions are expensive to belong to. The policies are expensive. You're looking at the national debt in France. I mean, this is just astronomical levels compared to previous governments and administrations over the years. It was unthinkable even to talk about multi-trillion dollars of debt, and it's not going down. It's only going up. We see the same debt to GDP ratio trends for the UK, for Germany, for all of the major European countries. This is not good. This is not going to increase their leverage. It's not going to increase their sovereignty, as you put it, Freddie. Just negative all the way around. We need to see political leaders that are going to tackle that issue head on. Until we do, I don't think we're going to see a lot of movement on these policies. They're just so constrained by the financial masters of the universe at the central banking level. Who's going to take on the bankers? Not Macron, that's for sure. He's one of them, Freddie. But listen, we'll pick up the thread on this. Freddie Ponton, independent researcher, journalist based in France. Really appreciate your excellent assessment of the French elections. Much appreciated.
It has been my pleasure.
There he goes, ladies and gentlemen. Follow Freddie on X, Twitter. We've tagged him there at LFC News Media, at 21 Wire. Check out our show post there. You want to follow Freddie on a daily basis. I do, and I'm better informed for it. Let's take a break right now and connect our next guest from the UK to see the fallout from the UK elections. We'll get an inside look from a parliamentary candidate from the Workers' Party of Britain. Haas is going to join us on the other side. Stay with us. We'll be right back.